Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to show you how to find and complete 0602 for math called Making Ice Models. I'm going to start by clicking on your math course. We're going down to Module 6. And we're doing 0602, Making Ice Models. And this lesson is 6 pages long. You're going to want to go through each of the 6 pages, boys and girls. Especially for this lesson, we're going to be using area models to help us divide decimals. And I know on some of these pages, it walks you through examples step by step on how to complete those problems. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to page 6, which is my what is my assignment page, and open up the worksheet, Making Ice Models. And for this worksheet, it's a 1-page worksheet. It's 5 questions long. Numbers 1 through 4, you're solving the division problems using the area models. And then number 5 is a short answer. How can we use models to help us divide with decimals? I'm going to actually walk you through one of these problems, and then I'm going to show you in the lesson where you can find examples to solve these problems. And I'm going to show you where you can actually get the answer to number 5 for this worksheet in the lesson. Okay, so to start off, what I did is I screenshotted number 1, which is 2 1/10 divided by 3. And I'm going to walk you through an example of how to solve these problems. So you've got 2 1/10. Okay, so that's 2 wholes and 1/10 left over, or it's 21/10. You can look at it either way, 2 wholes and 1/10 or 21/10. I like to look at it as 2 wholes and 1/10, but you can also look at it as 21/10, and 21/10 is 2 1 wholes, or 2 1/10. I apologize. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 2 1/10 and I'm going to shade that in using my area models. So I need 2 holes. Oops, let me get the highlighter too here. Okay, I've got 2 holes. So I'm going to shade my 2 holes in. And again, if you print this out, it's going to be a lot easier for you to shade in than it is on a device. But if you don't have a printer, remember you can use your iPad or your Chromebook and edit on your screenshotted documents. Okay, all right, so there's 1 hole, and we need 2 holes. That first hole that I just shaded in is also 10/10. Okay, now I'm shading in 10 more tenths. Remember, each stick represents a tenth. So now all together, I have 20 tenths, okay, or 2 holes. And then I've got 1/10 here. So I'm going to shade in my 1 more tenth. Okay, so now all together, what I have shaded in is 2 1/10 or 21/10. It's the same thing, okay? All right, so that's the first step, is you're taking your decimal and you're shading it in. So for number 1, 2 holes and 1/10 left over, or 21/10, what I just shaded in yellow. Your next step is to look at your shaded pieces and divide them up into groups. Now your second number is going to tell you how many groups you need to make. So this number right here, 3, is telling us we need to divide the shaded pieces into 3 equal parts. Well, I know I have 21/10 shaded in, okay? So 21/10 shaded in divided by 3. So I have 21 pieces divided by 3. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. So I'm going to make 3 groups of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's 1 group of 7. It's my first group. I need a second group of 7. Well, here's 3. I'm going to go into my next one. That was 3, so I need 4 more tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can go back up. Okay, there's my second group of 7 tenths. And then this last should be 7, this last bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So now I've got 3 groups, and within each of these 3 groups are 7 pieces or 7 tenths. Here is 7 tenths. Put a 0 there. Here is 7 tenths. And here is 7 tenths. So when I take 2 1/10 and divide it by 3, I get 7 tenths. You can also look at it as 21 tenths. We have 21 sticks. Those sticks are tenths. So 21 tenths divided by 3 is 7 tenths. So there's your answer for the first one, okay? We took our 21 tenths, or our 2 1/10, and we divided them up into 3 groups. And within these 3 groups, there are 7 tenths. And in order to figure out how many are in each, I looked at how many tenths I have together, 21, and I divided that by 3, and that's mental math. 21 divided by 3 is 7. But again, we're working with tenths here, so it'd be 7 tenths. Okay, so there's an example. I did number 1 for you, so I hope you're watching this video. Number 2, 3, and 4, you're going to do on your own, but I'm going to show you in the lesson where you can find examples to help you. Notice number 4, you've got hundredths here. Okay, and I'm going to show you where you can find an example of area models using hundredths when you're dividing decimals. And I'm also going to show you where you can find the answer to number 5 in the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the lesson. I'm going to go to page 3. And on page 3 of the lesson, if you scroll down, you're going to have an example of 3 divided by 2. So a whole number divided by a whole number. But if you go to example 2, you have a decimal, 4 2/10 divided by 6. So that can help you with number 2 and 3 on your worksheet. Okay, so on page 3, you can get assistance for questions 1, 2, and 3 on your worksheet. And then if you go to page 4, there's an example that goes over using hundredths, an area model with hundredths. Okay, and that's because you've got your decimal, 1 89 hundredths. So you're going to have to use the area model that's divided up into hundredths. So on page 4, you can get an example of how to do number 4 on your worksheet, okay? And then for number 5, if you go to page 4 of the lesson, for number 5 on your worksheet, how can you use models to help us divide with decimals? Look at the question. How can we use models to help us divide with decimals? It's the same question, and then it has the answers for you. So make sure you go through the lesson and read this. A lot of times when you have short answer questions, especially in math, the answer can be found right in the lesson. So on page 4, you can read about how models can help us divide with decimals. Okay, so everyone should get a 100 on this worksheet. I did number 1 for you. I showed you where you can find number 2 and 3 examples in the lesson to help you. And that's on page 3 of the lesson. Number 4, you can see an example on page 4 of the lesson, and you can get the answer for number 5 on page 4 of the lesson, okay? So everyone should be able to get 100 on this worksheet. When you're done with the worksheet, you're going to go to the next activity tab, and you're going to go to this blue plus button and submit your work.